Hey everybody, welcome to Wade's World on Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Wade Cleary with Century 21 Executive Team. And in the continuation of March spring cleaning tips and tricks, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to flush out your hot water heater. Now the manufacturers recommend that you flush out your hot water heater about once a year from all the different sediments that basically go to the bottom of the tank. And if they build up and you don't do this enough, then what happens is these sediments basically cause a corrosive issue to the bottom of your tank, and they prematurely age your tank, and then therefore you have a tank failure, and then obviously no hot water and upset people. So let's go ahead and show you how to do this. Now, one thing I do want to mention is be careful, because I have an electric hot water system. You might have a gas system, you might have a tankless system. So double check which system you have, and then follow the guidelines for what the manufacturer recommends for flushing that out. Again, if you don't have the owner's manual, YouTube is an excellent resource to kind of pull up your particular system to go ahead and find out how to do it step by step. Okay, so let's get started. Now on my hot water heater, I actually have a digital display unit. This is a like an energy smart system, but when I actually shut the power off to my hot water heater, I don't mess around with any of these buttons. I just go ahead and kill all the power to the system by the breaker. Okay, there you can see the power is off, the display is dead. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and attach the hose. Okay, at the bottom of your tank, you're going to have a spigot. What you're going to want to do is you're going to take a garden hose and you're going to attach this to the spigot, and you're going to tighten this up. Get it to the point where it's pretty snug, but don't go over tight, because you don't want to strip the threads or damage the threads. Now at the top of the tank, you're going to have your hot water and cold water. I'm going to go ahead and shut off the cold water supply line to the actual tank. Now the next step you want to do is you want to open up the hot water side of any faucet inside the house. And what we're going to do, that's going to open up the line to allow the water to escape the tank. Now we're going to go ahead and open up the valve. Now this handle right here is not the actual valve. This little slotted piece right here in the middle is the valve. So what you're going to do is you're going to open that up until it goes in alignment with the hose. Now again, you should hear some type of gurgling. If you don't, from the water tank actually coming out, then you're going to go to the next step. And this is what's called a pressure release valve. Now the pressure release valve does the functionality of, if the tank has too much pressure built up from like steam or hot water, this valve basically presents a bleed out so that the tank doesn't explode. So what you can do in this maintenance issue to basically allow more air into the tank is basically lift this arm up, and now you can hear the water gurgling inside. Now you're just going to want to bend it so it basically just keeps that tension open, and we'll go check out the hose. Okay, so the water is flowing out, and as you can see, it's not coming out really heavy. It's a pretty soft stream, and as you can see, I don't know if you can see all those little golden flecks. I got a lot of sediment built up in my tank. So we're going to go ahead and let this bleed out. It's going to take about 20, maybe 30 minutes, depending upon the size of your tank. And what I want you to keep in mind is, don't use this water for like watering any plants or flowers. This is all hot water, and just be careful that dogs or people don't get into this and get hurt themselves. Okay, so the tank is empty, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do what's called an agitation flush. Now this whole process of basically allowing the water to flow outside of the bottom of the tank is not very aggressive. It actually just kind of slowly flows out. So most of that sediment that you saw at the end of the hose was basically right next to the actual valve down at the bottom of the tank. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to basically turn on the cold water supply. That's going to basically flood the chamber with water and kind of stir up whatever on the bottom, and then hopefully that'll kind of get its way to the valve and then basically go out. So this is basically an agitation flush, and I'll do this for probably I'll fill the tank up for about 15-20 seconds. I'll shut the water off, I'll let the water flow out for a couple minutes, and then I'll do it again. I'll probably do this process about 3 or 4 times, and then we'll see where we're at. Okay, so I've just completed my 4th agitation flush, and everything is coming out of the hose just pretty much clear water. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go the extra mile. I'm going to go ahead and shut the valve off at the bottom of the water heater. I'm going to fill the tank up completely with cold water. I'm not going to turn the heating element back on. Once the tank is filled, I'm going to go ahead and let that all flow out one last time. Once this is done, we'll go ahead and do the final touches. Okay, so we're all done. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and completely shut the valve closed. I can go ahead at this point in time, remove my hose. I'm going to go ahead and turn the water supply back on. Now this is going to start filling up the tank. And I'm going to open this all the way so I've got as much water always coming to fill and feed the tank at all times. And there we go. And then what I'm going to do right now is, you can't see it, I'm going to leave the pressure release valve open, okay? Now, obviously you can't see this. Inside the tank, the water is filling from the bottom up. And what's happening is since that's filling it up and the valve is shut, I have this air pocket in the actual tank getting pushed to the top. The air is now, as the water fills up, the air is now being released out of the top of the tank through this pressure release valve tube. So what I'm going to do is, this is going to fill up pretty quickly. I'm going to wait for this to start spitting out some water, and then as soon as it does, I'm going to go ahead and shut this. I'm going to shut the pressure release valve off. Okay, there it is. I went ahead and shut the TPV, or the pressure release valve, off. And now there's just going to be a little bit more air left in the tank. And what I'm going to do is, if I come in here, this is actually being bled out right now. All the remaining air is being bled out through this hot water side. So let all that flow out. And then once it fills up, once it just has a steady stream of water, we'll be good too. There we go. And the last thing is to go ahead and turn the breaker on. And obviously the digital temperature readout is set. Now I've just got to wait for the water to heat up. And that's all there is.